And while this is happening, obviously a lot of Russian men are trying to escape. More than 250,000, right now probably more than 300,000, try to escape or have escaped already. However, right now, basically, regions that are adjacent to Georgia, like North Ossetia, for example, are closing sort of borders for basically cars that are not from that region. Which and also the Russians are setting up mobilization offices, mobile offices next to the border, or like at the border, at the control offices, basically at the border. And so you come to the border to cross it on the Russian side. So Georgia, Kazakhstan, um, uh, Mongolia, for example, they did not forbid Russians to enter yet. It seems like they don't have plans about it, but it's the Russians on their side are closing the border, sealing it from the inside. Exactly the same how it was with Belarus in 2020. Um, so yeah, that's something that, and this is basically um, like the first steps basically for actually just closing the border all the way, completely. And also the thing that still exists in Russia. I don't know why. You have two passports. You have your internal passport and your external, like foreign kind of a passport. And I still don't know why they have two of them. Belarus has one. I think most countries have one passport. But basically, to go outside of Russia, you need to have like an international passport. And apparently, people who are basically people who are fitting in that categories of mobilization. Basically, if you're a man 18 to 60, that's basically it. You're gonna be shit out of luck because apparently they will not give you this passport, this foreign passport, international passport. So you will not be able to actually get out really. So this is still, and the Kremlin is saying that that it decided not to close the borders to kind of not um, kind of um, undermine the trust to the government, which is, if they said it, it is all but 100% certain that they will close the borders, because every time the Russian government has said something that we're never gonna do this, but like, this is not acceptable, this is not about us, this is just lies, rumors. Every single time that they've said it, they've done exactly that thing that they said they will never do. Easy example is the whole mobilization. On the 8th of March, Putin was congratulating sort of women with International Women's Day and saying that you can be sure your sons and husbands and brothers, whatever, will never be mobilized. Then they have been repeating the same shit over the course of the next months. Even on like September like 16th or whatever, they were saying there will be no mobilization, nothing will happen, and then boom, mobilization happened. So now, if they're actually officially saying, and which is basically what they're doing, officially saying that they will not close the borders, it is all but certain that they will close borders, and they will close it extremely very, very soon. So yeah. Same thing happens, like I said. There's like mobile mobilization offices are already in on the border with Finland, and happens the same there as well. Like, people are getting those mobilization notes, basically notices, whatever, papers. And what's interesting about the law is that until you are in the draft office, in the war office of Enkamat, um, you you're just a civilian, right? And Nobody can do anything to you. Even if you took that mobilization blank mobilization papers, still they can't do anything to you because you are still not like a liable, basically, army personnel. Let's put it that way. The second you step inside that office, you're fucked, because then you basically surrender your life. They can do anything to you. So what Russian people are doing right now, or at least some of them are doing, some of them are actually brain dead enough to go on their own to this военкомат things. But most of them, what they're doing is trying to not get those papers, mobilization papers, because if they don't have it, they just regular civilians. But like I'm saying, it's getting harder to actually avoid it, apparently, because even if you're trying to escape Russia, now at the border, basically border patrol works with conjunction with these mobilization officers who are like literally giving you that thing, and thus basically prohibiting you from leaving the country, because during mobilization these people who are liable for mobilization cannot leave the country. And once again, I'm saying that most likely in the next week, I guess I would say, maybe even just days, the Russian border will be completely closed. So it's not going to be even about mobilized, not mobilized. If you're like 18 to, or do you have the paper, or you don't. Which fucking sucks for anyone who is against this war, and anyone who actually wants to, anyone who actually cares about their health, let's put it that way. Because yes, Dagestan region, Chechnya region, they were able, apparently, to at least to some degree avoid mobilization and stand against this oppressive regime, against the police, against the fucking special forces, whatnot. It's really hard, though. It is really hard to do, though. Especially like if you're somewhere like in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, where the amount of those special forces, Rosgvardia, all the fucking cunts, is just through the fucking roof. Through the fucking roof. So I totally understand people who are just trying to fucking escape. Because you know what? All these amazing speeches about, oh, you need to fight for your freedom, blah blah blah, all this shit, like, it's all good and well. But how many dictatorship, true totalitarian regimes have you seen been toppled simply by revolting people? It's almost none, because it's almost always some part of elites, some part of army, some part of like special forces. They switch sides, and then the kind of masses get this boost in morale, boost in firepower, even. Simple as that. Just people on their own destroyed the regimes, like toppled the regimes. Almost never. Maybe even never. I don't know exactly, but almost never 100%. You can see North Korea being North Korea for decades. You can see China tightening their control, like, year after year after year after year. Even after all the fucking protests, whatever. Hong Kong, you can see. Free territory, supposedly. The police was able to beat the protesters, and they were able to actually win there. The police, the regime. Even though the whole world supported it. And the totalitarian, fucking brutal regime and machinery in Russia and in Belarus is way more brutal and way more sort of dangerous, and for people inside Russia, than almost in any other country. Yes, they're shit at war, actually. They're garbage. But inside Russia, though, like they're not like throwing away that core personnel who is protecting Putin himself. They're not like throwing them on the front lines anymore. No. They're really careful with that manpower. Okay.